Soscia,
WOND.
Soscia, I'll get it.
Time to get locked in for the Big Man's Report, bringing you sports news, local events, music, and much more. Now, here's the Big Man's Report on Newstalk 1400 and 92.3 WOND with your host, Blake Roselle.
And welcome back to another week here on the Big Man's Report Live. I am your host, Blake Roselle. I hope you guys all had a wonderful week, wonderful weekend, rather. And I hope you guys are all getting ready for another weekend, although the weather here in Jersey is not too good. Audra, what do you think? It's not too good today.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah, it's not too good. But you know what? I'm looking forward to July 4th weekend. And I think we're going to hopefully have some nice weather next week. So, but without further ado, in just a second, I'm going to introduce my guest here. But like I said, last week I had on my dear friend, Mike Marino, who's a comedian out of North Jersey. We had a great show last week. We talked a little bit about his career, how he got into acting as well as comedy, some great experiences that he talked about. And one of the major things that was really big with his career is he had if you'll see in my interview, and you'll see that I posted online, that he had went out to Dubai with a bunch of other army men and other comedians, and he kind of talked about, you know, if we had an Italian president, he goes, how would the country be ran? So that was his shtick. That was his funny joke. That's actually available on his Instagram and on YouTube if you want to go check out that skit. But me and Mike had a great conversation, and I look forward to working with him down the road on some other projects. So shout out to Mike Marino for a great show. And I'll also be on his show, Live from My Mother's Basement, which we already recorded. I'll be coming on in a couple of weeks. So stay tuned to his Instagram page and his advertisements also on YouTube for that as well. So this week, I'd like to introduce the guest that I have on. I was looking forward to this show. Had some conversations with him, previously off air. He's a great guy. He's in a lot of big movies. He has a great story to tell and all that he's doing now. He's got some great projects that are on the way, and he's been featured in some big films, which we'll talk about. So I'd like to introduce my main man, Bruce Busta, his film name, Soscia. Okay. And also he's an entrepreneur, actor, film producer, director. He does it all. Bruce, I want to thank you for coming on the program tonight, my man.
Thank you, Blake. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here and to continue our friendship that we started building. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, and thank you for coming online here. I mean, this weather you're having is way better than the weather we're having, obviously.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. I'm down here in southern Florida, and I can't complain, man. We got a little rain today. I couldn't ride the motorcycle or drive the convertible for too long of a stretch, so it wasn't that great. It was a little depressing for a few minutes here when the rain started.
Well, that's the thing about Florida too. Correct me if I'm wrong. It'll rain for like a downpour for like 10, 15 minutes in Florida, and then it'll be beautiful again. Is that right?
You'll think it's the end of the world. It's the apocalypse. There's a tsunami coming, and then within 5 minutes it goes away, and the roads dry right up, and you don't even know that it rained. It's really wild experience if you're not from down here, which I'm not. I'm still kind of new here, so I'm still getting used to it. It's a pretty wild experience.
Well, that's great. Everyone, even in Jersey, a lot of people are like, well, when I retire, I want to move to Florida, or they have homes in Florida and they want to go back to, they want to go back to Jersey for the summers, and then they want to be in the winter. They want to be in Florida. I don't blame them.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful thing. Just like most people from the Northeast, like myself, I always came down and visited, periodically, do a weekend here, a week there, all the major, Miami, Orlando, all the tourist traps, if you will. And ultimately, 2 years ago, I was filming Gravesend series, a TV show that we're having the world premiere next week in Long Island, New York. And while I was down here for a couple of months filming, I just fell in love, man. I said, what am I doing? Why? I'm really going to go back up north and shovel snow and deal with the cold and the potholes and all the craziness. And I'm a homeboy, man. I love the Northeast. I love where I'm from. I grew up in between New York and Boston in a place called Cranston, Rhode Island, the smallest state in the country, and a lot of people don't even know it exists, to be honest, when I travel. Like Rhode Island, that's Long Island, right? And sometimes I go, yeah, sure, Long Island, just call it what you want at this point.
Yeah, and that was going to bring me to my what I was going to say. So usually I always with my guests, I always talk about like their upbringing and where they grew up and their childhood and how they got into what they're doing. So you know, from learning a little bit about you, you are from the Northeast area, and you said, like you said, from you said the middle of Rhode Island and New York, in that little in the gap there.
Sure.
Yeah, and so what was like growing up in your household and in your neighborhood? What are some
Sure.
things you learned at a young age?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely grew up in a typical modern American family. Went through a divorce, and I became a stepchild and had a stepdad, and grew up in a very old school, strict Italian family and Italian neighborhood and the whole bit. I was a paper boy. I cut lawns. I shoveled snow. I learned at a very young age the value of hard work, and I knew that if I wanted anything in life, I had to go get it myself and work for it. So I've never been a stranger to working long hours, long days, and like I said, at a very young age, I knew that was the key to life. That I had to get out there and make it happen. Nobody was going to do it for me.
Right, exactly. And that's what I feel like America was brought up on was hard work and instill those values. And it's so important. And obviously, it really benefited to where you're at today and you learn the values of hard work. So what made you want to get into the acting world? I mean, I know you're an entrepreneur and I know you had some businesses before you got into this life, but what made you want to get into acting?
Sure. So in my young years, I started a family really young. I mean, I was one of those after school specials, if you remember what those were. I'm dating myself, but I was 18. I had a child. I was 18. She was 16. I had my first son, and then I had a daughter right after that. So I kind of, had to get to work right away because I knew that not just for me to have nice things, but for my kids to have a better life than me. So I always worked 2, 3 jobs, long hours. I didn't have a silver spoon. I didn't have college wasn't really an option because I started a family so young. I had to get out there, and I was more of a blue collar guy. I always had like tough jobs, and as a teenager, I worked in restaurants and stuff like that. And I made a lot of great life experiences, and I knew that I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life. That was for sure. And in my young years, I got a CDL. I drove tractor trailers and dump trucks, and I was a professional truck driver, and a little bit of mortgages. And this, I mean, I jumped around. I did everything I possibly could get my hands in. And by the time my mid to late 20s, I knew that I wanted a barber shop. I just always wanted one. I wasn't a barber. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And it's kind of it's a funny story. A lot of people that know my kind of rise in the game started from me just wanting something so bad, but having no rhyme or reason or no qualifying criteria. I just said, hey, I love getting a haircut. I love the barbershop ambiance. I'm going to have one someday. And, like I said, late 20s, I recruited a team, put a business plan together, and became an entrepreneur overnight and worked really hard on marketing and getting out there. And I learned business fast. It was like feast or famine. I knew that if I was going to take a risk and pull the plug on punching a clock for someone else and going out on my own, I had a family to carry. So I really couldn't afford to make a mistake. It had to be a home run. And I got to say, I was very blessed. I had a lot of great opportunities, and I turned one barbershop business into about 10 or 12 locations within the next 10 years. And ultimately, I was a master barber. I cut hair. I apprenticed and mentored a lot of young guys to come up in the game behind me. And, I ultimately, when I got to my late 30s, I kind of lost the passion for it. My kids were grown. I coached all their sports and chaperoned their field trips. And I was kind of like super dad, if you will. And I really loved that. It was the best part of my life. And ultimately, call it a midlife crisis, if you will. I never was an aspiring actor. I didn't do, the acting classes right away and all that stuff. I was just hands-on, blue-collar stuff. And then Mark Wahlberg's people were recruiting New England tough guys. And I don't know why I got picked, but for some reason, the qualifying criteria was big guys, beards, tattoos, scary faces. I don't think I meet any of that stuff, but everybody else kept pushing me and tagging me in this thing on Facebook. And I kept saying, I don't want to do that. I don't know anything about that. And ultimately, my girl and one of my close friends who was a professional photographer says, come on, man, come in the studio, do some headshots. And I had never done that before. I was always like, oh, no pictures, no pictures. I kind of
Right.
grew, like in the shadows, if you will, just working hard and minding my business.
Mhm.
And it wasn't really about that. And I did, and I'm glad. It really worked out for me. I went to an open casting call. I got pulled, aside by the big casting director in Boston, Angela Perry, and she kind of, so to speak, found me or discovered me and pulled a diamond out of the rough, I guess. And I knew right away that I had to learn. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm getting these auditions and opportunities, and I jumped in head first, man. It was the best thing I ever did. I got into acting classes. I rose to the top of my class right away because I was so passionate about method acting. Lee Strasberg Film Institute. Hats off to Rachel Baylett, my coach, still my coach. And yeah, the opportunities just started to come, and I got into this game late 30s. I'm 47 now, and it's been kind of like a rocket ship. I don't have a typical story. I just the road has been open, and the opportunities have kind of poured out, and I really, all I can say is hard work and dedication pays off. I for 3 years, no one knew I was working all day in my businesses, and then I was taking 2-3 nights a week, driving an hour each way and taking 3-4 hour acting classes. And only my immediate family knew. I didn't publicize it. I just took it, reading books and Zoom classes and, online tutoring and everything I could. I never felt so passionate and so hungry for something until I found this acting world. And yeah, it's been one hell of a ride, man. And like you touched on, a lot of really cool experiences with A-list actors, and they just continue to happen. A lot of things are blossoming right now.
Yeah, and God bless you. That's a wonderful story. How you learned the values of hard work. You started the barbershop business, and you opened up barbershops underneath you with the apprenticeships for some people and everything. And then out of nowhere, you're like, wait, I'm getting these casting calls to go be a tough guy. And I
Right.
must say, I mean, you do kind of fit the description. I mean, I'm a big guy too, but you're a big guy.
Allegedly.
But it's funny how you never know how things in life are going to happen, right?
True.
And you
Very
kind of
true.
take that step, take that chance, and now you're on the big stage, and you have the ability to work with a lot of great people, I'm sure, and some big names in the business.
Oh yeah.
Um, I know that you're going to be in season 2 coming out in July of Gravesend.
Oh yeah. Big
Yeah,
one. That's
and
a really, man, I gotta say that was probably the most fun I've ever had on a film project in terms of the camaraderie, the relationships formed. Hats off to William DeMeo, the writer, director, star of the show. Man, I produced a film, co-produced with a friend of mine during the tail end of the COVID shutdown. We were the first production to get a green light from the SAG union to film a movie. And I had William and a lot of the core group of the guys that are in the Gravesend series, his team, his Brooklyn guys. And we built a friendship on that, and it blossomed and continued. And when it got time for him to put Gravesend together, he goes, man, he called me and said, man, I got a perfect role for you. And he sent me, some of the character breakdowns and sides to look at. And oh man, it was right up my alley. I said, this is going to be a lot of fun. The thing with Gravesend, so most of the time I run around with a beard, right? Because most guys nowadays, we all like the beard look. And in Gravesend, it was a period piece set in the 80s. So wise guys and tough guys, and most guys back in the 80s didn't wear beards. We were clean shaven. So
right.
you get to see a different version of me in Gravesend. So it's, I'm still the same guy, but with a clean face and 80s attire, a lot of track suits, gold chains, and the freestyle music. I'm really excited, man. The world premiere is next week on June 29th. So that'll be the first glimpse that the cast and crew gets to see. The first one, I think it's 2 or 3 episodes they're going to air for us. And then I don't know all the release information, what platform it's going to be on and what dates and stuff, but I know that will be announced very soon. We've been, I guess they say, highly anticipated. So it's one of those things that I'm chomping at the bit to see it. I can't wait for the world to see it. My family. It was a lot of fun, and 9 episodes. I was on almost all of them. And yeah, Chaz Palminteri, Armando Sante, William Forsythe, Fran Drescher. I mean, the list goes on. Talk about a star-studded cast, and a million other guys that are up-and-coming actors, or somewhere in between. And yeah, it was like a big brotherhood. We had a lot of fun. Like I said, mostly filmed in Miami this season, and then a lot of action in New York as well. But I was in most of the Miami stuff, and that's kind of what seduced me to end up selling the house and cars and businesses, and saying, hey, I'm staying here. I'm planting my flag. I'm staying in Florida. And there's not a lot of film down here. So most people think, what are you, crazy? You should have moved to LA or this and that. And I just love it, man. I love the palm trees here. I love everybody says, oh, it's too hot. And it gets pretty hot in the summer, but that's what air conditioning's for,
Yeah,
I'm having a lot of fun.
exactly. And the Gravesend is going to be great. I'm excited to see it as well when it comes out. I've actually had the pleasure of building some friendships and a lot of guys that are going to be in the cast on the set there. Shout out to Chris Mormando,
Yeah,
who I had on the program. We filmed last week.
Oh, cool.
And I've been in contact with him. I also had Vic DiBattista on.
I love him. So funny.
Yeah.
He's
I had
great.
him on last May. And so there's a lot of big names, like you said, in that show. And I'm looking forward to watching it. I think it's going to be great.
It is. I think it's going to be amazing. Just like I said, I haven't seen it on screen yet. I know what we shot though, and if as an actor, sometimes you just know. You're like, that was magic right there. That was a magical moment on camera, and I have a lot of faith in that show. I really think it's gonna really make an impact, and we've all individually and collectively, we have a pretty good following. Never mind, the world loves that stuff. Everybody loves the 80s. Everybody loves the gangster stuff, the tough guy, wise guy, the talking the talk and walking the walk, and the action and the fights and the guns and the pretty girls and all that stuff. It's got it all. And from what I understand, it's got a real good soundtrack too. So I think it's going to catch on, man. I think it's going to be something that is here to stay. I don't think it's going to be a one and done season. I think it's going to air and people are going to go bananas for it. And it's going to be a season 3 right away. I have a really good feeling.
Yeah, well, we're all looking forward to looking into that and watching that, and that old school feel. I mean, people are addicted to it. I mean, I'm a young guy, but I love that stuff. I grew up listening to that music, the old doo-wop stuff, the oldies music, and I just love those kind of films and those kind of movies, and I think it's gonna be great.
Definitely. I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to it.
So you're also in a lot of other projects. I know that you're in that featured in that film with Rob Lowe. I've been promoting a little bit on Netflix. You want to tell us a little bit about that film? We do have a couple minutes before we go to commercial break.
Sure. I'll sneak this one in for you. So, I like anybody, I auditioned for the role. I got the role. We filmed in Atlanta, Georgia, and it was a Netflix movie with Rob Lowe. And initially they sent me the sides and I did my audition, and I did the audition with no shirt on. I just made a choice. It was for the head biker in a motorcycle gang. So I made a choice to do the audition with no shirt and just show them I'm the guy. And I read my lines, and I did my best to show them that I would be the right pick for this role, and I got picked. And here's the little secret, little Easter egg. So in that role, I'm the head biker, and it's out there on Netflix. The show did great. It came out January 13th, trending #1 movie in the world of Netflix. I had people in other countries screenshotting their TV, sending me, my image on Netflix, and also showing #1, the Netflix algorithm that shows you like the ratings. So for quite a few weeks, we were #1 movie. So a lot of millions of people saw this. And my scene that I had with Rob Lowe, lucky enough for me, was like the only like villainous moment in the movie, because it's a really family film,
right?
And it's a great storyline. But anyway, the preview screen on Netflix for that movie is my scene, and then the trailer for the movie is a lot of my scene, and it went viral, man. And Entertainment Tonight and all these entertainment shows, they were interviewing Rob Lowe, and they just kept showing my scene with him. Everybody was going crazy for like a week straight. Everybody was blowing up my phone. I just seen you on this show and that show. And people are like, who the hell is this guy? But for me, it was really fun. And working with Rob Lowe, knowing his name my whole life as just a human being, never mind as an actor, it was a great opportunity to be face to face with someone like that and kind of bring my skill set to life with someone of such prominence. And hats off to him. He was really kind and really great to work with. But the secret I wanted to tell you really quick was, I played a biker. Now, leading up to that moment, I had never ridden a motorcycle, and nobody knows that. I look like a biker. I have the tattoos and muscles, and people would look at me and say, "Oh yeah, biker, sure." I auditioned as a biker. I said my lines. I looked tough. I had it all down pat. An hour before we filmed, the director calls me and he says, "Hey, Bruce," he says, "You ride, right?" Now I'm in the hotel, like, what is it? I'm like, yeah, shit, yeah, of course, I've been riding for years. And he says, all right, no problem, because we got you this really cool Harley and yada yada yada. So I get to set and I had to kind of scramble, and I said to the director, "Hey, who owns the
Bruce,
bike?"
we are going to go to commercial real quick. I don't want to interrupt you.
Oh, go ahead.
We'll be right back here on News Talk 1400 and 92.3 WOND. We'll see you when we get back.
In the House tonight,
House be in order.
Democrats chanting after members voted mainly along party lines to censure California Congressman Adam Schiff for Democrats. Comments the Democrat made years ago during investigations into former President Trump's ties to Russia. 6 Republicans voted present. The vote also empowers the House Ethics Committee to investigate Schiff. A federal judge ordering Hunter Biden to appear in court on July 26th.
I was laughing. It's no big deal.
His first appearance.
Yeah, just
on
like
a plea deal that he agreed to following a 5-year Justice Department investigation. Search and rescue crews now focused on banging noises heard in the area where a submersible went missing Sunday. Reporters asking Coast Guard Captain Jamie Frederick when
that's crazy, right?
Ends.
We're not there yet.
No, I got goosebumps when I first heard it. I'm like,
if we continue to search, potentially,
I can't believe that whole thing.
But again, we're not there yet.
I wonder if the
Titan has less than a day's
going to pop
worth
up out
of
of the
oxygen.
ocean. I don't know.
Daria Albany,
Yeah,
ABC News.
It's weird. Like they're like, where'd this thing go?
The Broadleys
It's a big
WOND
part of the
Weather
ocean.
Center.
There's nothing around too. It's
Cloudy
like
skies, damp and dreary. It's
don't
also
even
windy
have,
with
like, the
cool
government
temperatures
doesn't even
in the
have
60s.
technology to
A
go
few
chase
showers
it.
will move in tonight.
Right.
Also tonight,
Last
expect
thing I heard
minor
is some
coastal
private
flooding.
company, some
We'll stay
billionaire
windy
company,
overnight with more
they
rain
have,
moving in
like,
during the overnight
the
hours.
tool or like a
Thursday is going to be a
machine that
wet
can go
and
down there,
soggy
but
day with rain coming
no
and going
rain.
all day long. Make sure you have the rain gear handy for your Thursday. It's going to be a wet day
tiny,
under
it's like
cloudy
this big.
skies. It's
They're
going
all
to be
sitting on
breezy,
each other's
feeling
lap.
humid with high temperatures in the
Instant
70s.
heart attack,
For
though.
Longport Media,
Oh,
meteorologist
absolutely, yeah.
Alexa
Even if
Trischler.
there's oxygen, imagine just knowing
This
you're
fishing
trapped and you
report
may
is
not come
sponsored
back.
by Ray Scott Stock, 9211 Amherst Avenue in Margate.
It's time for Shep on Fishing with South Jersey's recognized authority on the world of fishing, Michael Shepard.
Hi, this is Shep on Fishing America in South Jersey from Fort
How long's the
Tuscaloosa, Long Beach
commercial?
Island,
Minute?
and offshore.
I'll get another minute or so, and then we'll go right back on. I'll introduce us. I got to read my sponsors, and then we'll go right back on.
Straight bass fishers will be restricted to 1 fish daily possession measuring between 28 inches and 31 inches. That 3-inch spread to be a keeper is down from the soon-to-change 28 inches to less than 38 inches measured. That was the 5-2 vote of the advisors of the New Jersey Marine Fishery Council online meeting Tuesday evening. Council Chairman Dick Herb said that the new regs will be a done deal.
Hey, Bruce, look at the screen real quick. I'm just going to put this on.
He said that protects the state's
There we go.
fish program.
Just want to get that on there.
Stripe measuring between 24
Nice.
and 28 inches when anglers possess the bonus tag. It's done. That's what Dick said Wednesday morning with some relief evident in his voice.
So when we go back on, I'm going to read I'll read the sponsors, and then we'll get right back to the show.
Provide at a later date.
Right.
And you can finish
And,
telling that
by
story
the way,
from
fishing is
Doggone.
super for a
Yeah,
wide
yeah.
variety as summertime arrives here in South Jersey.
I
We
should
have
have not
something
tried
for all
to
styles and
sneak
tastes
it
for
in.
the
Once I
backcountry,
said shit, I was like, and then I slowed
inshore,
down.
and offshore.
That's all right.
That's Chepo for now. Get out
I
and
caught
enjoy.
myself.
See, well, I don't know why this is so. Let me see if this is.
Catch the
Try this
Shep on
now.
Fishing Show Saturday mornings at 7 on
All right, let's live better. Hold on, let me do that again.
Tuesdays in sports and daily in the press of AtlanticCity.com. Listen for his reports
We're doing
Tuesday
screenshots?
through
That's
Sunday
better. Okay.
here on News Talk 1492.3 WOND.
Here's Robin Scott to describe what's going on at the Amherst Avenue Marina that provides resident and visiting fishers the complete Back Bay outdoor experience. Robin?
Thank you, Mike.
That's pretty cool, though. The whole thing with Rob Lowe and the.
If you would
Oh,
like to
watch
work
when you hear the
really
rest
hard
of
at
the story,
recreational fishing,
it's
buy
a
your
little
own
bit more of
boat.
that.
If
It'll,
you would like to enjoy recreational
funny
fishing
what
at its
happened.
very best, come here and rent one of ours because we have a big fleet. They range
Yeah,
from
I'm
15
excited
and
to
a
hear
half
it.
foot Boston whalers up to pontoon boats, and we do guided charters of the
I had
Back Bay.
another
Now,
cool
the
one I,
is
I worked
important
with
because people don't
Liam
get
Neeson.
seasick.
That was
You have to be over 18
Oh, really?
and you have to have
yeah,
a valid
well,
car
that was-
driver's license.
I
We
can't wait for
provide
that movie to
rods,
come out.
reels, bait, tackle, and ice. You can find us at 9211
Liam
Amherst
Neeson's a great
Avenue in
actor.
Margate.
Oh,
Our
hell
phone
yeah.
number
He's-
is
he's been in the game for years.
609-822-6819.
He just plays like
Email
that, like sophisticated, like James Bond type kind of dude.
Website is
He's
racegodsstock.com.
not tall, yo. I'm 6 feet. He's probably like 6'5". Like you're like 6'5", right?
6'7".
You're 6. Yo, I knew you was a monster. I seen pictures and I'm like, everybody else looks really short around this kid. That's
Listen,
great.
man, I need to be like an extra in like a bodyguard film or something. Come on.
Yeah, don't worry. It all comes around. It all comes around.
I hope you think of me, man.
No, I do. It's funny because I did that, the movie Mob King that's out right now that I did. Two guys that I'm friends with, they're both bigger than me. They look like bookshelves next, like I look like I'm a book. And they were like my henchmen.
Don
in the
Williams,
movie.
weekday morning,
And one of
6 to
them,
10
they're
on News Talk
multi-millionaires.
1400
They
and
had nothing to do with
92.3
acting. They're just
WOND.
big motherfuckers. And I was like, come on. You guys are
All right,
my-
going back on.
Yeah.
And welcome back here to News Talk 1400.
And 92.3 WOND. I am your host, Blake Roselle. Thank you all for joining me again tonight on this lovely Wednesday evening. Just wish the weather was a little bit better. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's summertime, and we always look forward to the good weather coming around. As I like to always do, is I like to thank my sponsors for making this show possible. They're the best. They support me in everything that I do, and I like to always give back and support their businesses as well. Castle Supermarket of Margate for all your fresh groceries, bakery, deli, everything fresh from the supermarket. Visit Castle's and see my man Howard. Tell him that I sent you for all the delicious baked goods. You're not going to go wrong when you're on the island over here in Margate, New Jersey. Stop on by Castle's and see my man. South Jersey All Sports of Northfield. Boxing classes, indoor rental, batting cages. Stop on by Turf Field, all new line facility at South Jersey All Sports of Northfield, right over the bridge here. If you're looking to sign up your child in classes, if you're a baseball team, if you're a track team, whatever you want to do, you want to practice, reach on out to Tracy Blake on the website and organize that as well to get in there to South Jersey All Sports for rent their facilities. Blake Chemax Training Academy of Northfield, call for classes for boys and girls of all ages, birthday parties, tumbling, Ninja Warrior classes, team events, and much more. Thomas C. Roselle, attorney at law. If you have any legal matters regarding anything that you'd like to discuss, feel free to email Thomas C. Roselle at tcrlaw@gmail.com. Mazza's Farm Market, an Italian coffee house of Northfield. Mazza's Farm Market has been a local treasure for South Jersey since the 1960s. In 2011, the Clemente family took over and expanded the seasonal farm market into a year-round destination. Mazza's Farm Market Bakery International Coffee House, using their experience in the local food communities as they create a beautiful selection for all their customers. Gino has the best coffee, the best fresh Jersey tomatoes, anything you can imagine down at Gino's. See my man, tell him that I sent you for a discount on any item in there. Last but not least, Angelo's Fairmount Tavern of Atlantic City. Want to stop on in and see my man Angelo for dinners, banquets, catering events, and much more. 87 dining years of excellence to Angelo and Fairmount Tavern. Stop on in for a delicious meal if you're coming in town, or if you have a birthday party or event, stop on by and see my man Angelo for a delicious meal at Angelo's Fairmount Tavern of Atlantic City, an Atlantic City staple. And now let's get back to the program here on News Talk 1400 and 92.3 WOND. I'm your host, Blake Roselle. Thank you for tuning in tonight. I have a wonderful guest on, good friend of mine, and we're talking about the world of acting, all the major projects he's working on that he's in. He's telling me a little about the acting world and what it's like to be in the acting world, and some great projects to look forward to down the road that has worked on and that will be released shortly on different platforms you'll be able to watch. And at the end, we'll see where you can find him online and all his socials, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But I want to thank you again, Bruce, for coming on tonight.
Thank you.
This is a great show that I was looking forward to. And I knew we'd have a lot to talk about and a lot about the acting world. So a little bit on the first half of the hour, right before we went to commercial break, we were talking about how you were featured in that film with Rob Lowe, which is Doggone, which is a top viewed on Netflix, like we said. Right. And you were into telling the story about how you were in the biker scene, and that was actually, it's a very family oriented film, but that was kind of a scene that was out of the ordinary, right? So go ahead and tell that story to our audience.
Yeah. So the funny thing, the funny experience that happened to me with that particular film is leading up to my scene. I was in the hotel getting ready, getting geared up to go to set, and the director called me and he said, "Hey, Bruce, you ride, right?" And I paused for a moment because I never rode motorcycles. I liked luxury cars and SUVs my whole life. But of course, I didn't want to lose the gig, and I thought to myself, how bad could it be? I said, yeah, I've been riding for years. Like, okay, good, because we got this really nice Harley Davidson for you to ride in your scene. And I said, okay, but to be honest, Blake, my heart was pounding. I was having a little anxiety. I was so pumped up for the scene, and I'm like, oh, great. Now it's not just remembering the lines. Now I got to learn how to ride a motorcycle in 5 minutes. So I got to set, and I kind of pulled the director aside, and I said, hey, who owns the bike? Because, I'd like to get acclimated with that particular bike and, out of respect to the owner. And he said, yeah, sure. And he put me with the owner, and I told the owner, I said, buddy, listen, I don't ride. I don't want to hurt your bike. And the guy's going, oh my God. And I said, is there anything you could do to teach me how to ride the bike in like within the next 5 minutes? He said, come on. And he gave me a tutorial. And I got to be honest, Blake, I loved it, man. I enjoyed it. And I said, all these years, I'm in my 40s, and I never had a two-wheel. I never had a motorcycle. I had four-wheelers. I had all kinds of stuff, but never had a street bike. And I never cared. All my friends did, my family. I was always like, I don't care about a bike. And now, ever since that moment in that scene, when I came back home, I took motorcycle classes. I got the license, and now I got 2 bikes in my garage, and I'm actually a biker. I love it. I'm enjoying it. But that all came from, the movie role with Rob Lowe. Now I'm actually a quote unquote biker. So without just BSing my way into a role, I can actually say that I ride.
Now you could ride them for joy in your leisure time, like you said.
I love it. I'm enjoying it, man. Big time.
So I mean, being on these sets and these films with these actors, and the camaraderie that you get when you meet people on the set. I mean, tell us a little bit about what it's like on the film set and when you're actually shooting a film, because everyone wants to say, well, I want to be in a movie, I want to do this, but what is the actual work to be in a film? There's a lot of work behind the scenes.
So for me, it's become something that I really got to say I live for it. I love it. My passion for, being an actor it's just the best thing I've ever done. And I've done some cool stuff in my life. But for me, it entails a lot of hours, a lot of preparation. A lot of people on the outside looking in, they say, oh, it must be hard memorizing all those lines. And man, I can't remember anything. I don't have a good memory. So one of the good things about my acting school and my acting coach is we don't really approach a character by memorizing lines. It's more about using my 5 senses, really understanding the story and the character, and really living and breathing that character to be. It's my version of that character. So if I was playing you, for example, I would do all my research about you so that I could really be you and become you and give that performance as you would be naturally. So, at the end of the day, a lot of actors overthink. I think they take a million classes, and I'm all about education and taking classes. But sometimes people kind of convolute their version of like what an actor is, and maybe they overthink everything. So I'm me no matter what, right? When I am a character, my name changes, my storyline changes, my background changes. And for the most part, I'm getting picked for roles that could potentially be someone that looks and sounds like me. So I try not to overthink it. I really, what ends up happening is if you do proper research even in the beginning, the audition phase, like really read everything they give you, soak it up, think about what the room looks like, what the air quality is, what smells you smell. And it really, all that stuff helps give your best execution of that role. But what a lot of people don't realize is the hours that you put in, even on set days. Like an average set day is like 14, 15 hours. So, wow. A typical job is, 8 hours, maybe some overtime, a couple hours. But as an actor, and yeah, there's a lot of downtime where maybe you look like you're hanging around, but really you're preparing mentally, you're memorizing, you're running lines, you're huddling with a group of talent that you're going to be working with. And some of those moments is where really the magic happens, where you banter, like you said, about building a rapport. And you can kind of tell right away as an actor, like what level someone else is at. You know, I've worked with people who bring the best out of me, and I like to pride myself on being the kind of an actor's actor. I like to bring the best out of the people I'm working with in terms of looking right into their soul, like looking into their eyes and really listening to what they say, not just waiting for my cue to like spit out my lines. It's more, it's so much more in depth than that, because we're searching for the truth in every scene, because the camera doesn't lie. The camera sees everything. So if you're pretending, and I don't know if you've ever like, you know, combed through some like kind of bad movies, like where you're like, oof, this is really bad acting. You could sniff that out right away. And that's the thing, like as an actor, you can tell if someone is invested in the role, invested in the character, if they've done their homework, if they follow the procedure, the steps. I've seen some really poor executions of characters by big name actors, and you could kind of just tell, like maybe they just weren't into it, and maybe it was like an indie film and they took a paycheck and they just kind of, you know, fumbled their way through it. You can kind of tell that stuff, especially as an actor. Me as a barber, when I was a barber, if I see somebody's haircut, I knew in my head, oof, that's, you know, that barber wasn't too good. And just like all of us, whatever our profession is, we should be the expert in our field. But to be an actor, it's really, it's sometimes a thankless job, because it's very easy to get negative. And I've prided myself on the fact that I take every opportunity as a bonus, as a blessing. Like, it's not my baseline. It's not real life. I am a full-time working actor. I'm constantly being pitched and marketed, and I'm constantly auditioning. But I do have other businesses and investments that can carry me. So I'm not kind of like depressed waiting for the next phone call. And I knew that going in right away. As an entrepreneur, you got to have something going for you. You can't just rely on acting, because it's a very small percentage of people that work that much at that level of pay that they can afford to just be an actor. So the reality of it is, it's a lot of hours, a lot of unpaid hours of training, a lot of unpaid hours of auditioning, a lot of unpaid hours of, you know, perfecting your craft. And then the moments where you get to shine, hopefully you prepared enough that you give such an impactful performance that you get more opportunities out of it. And that's kind of the, you know, the way that I look at it. And again, you know, that I might be a little different. I know a lot of guys in the business that are a little jaded. Maybe they spent a lot more years in the game and they kind of see the downfalls and the negative sides of things. But I, just like any business in life or anything in life, I try my best to see things that are an opportunity or a potential stepping stone as that. And don't take yourself so serious that, you know, you are not, your feet aren't on the ground. I try to stay grounded and realize, like, it really is a gift, man. Every chance I get, I take it with a humble heart and a grateful heart. When I'm on set, I like when I leave and people say, man, he was great to work with. That man, you got to have that guy in your movie or your TV show, because he's a really good actor, but he's also a joy to work with. And that's the difference, because you can get a bad reputation real quick. This business is big, but it's real small. Everybody knows each other. And they know who and how people are, so real fast too.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you always want to make sure you're doing your best. I mean, as with anything too. I mean, but especially in the acting world, especially if you want to land another position or another job in acting, I mean, it's always good, I guess, to keep a good mindset and a good good work ethic, as you know, and it's instilled in you as you were saying, and what you learned from a young age. But what were some of your, like, maybe your greatest moments so far in your career that you would say that you're really proud of? I'm not saying that you're proud of all your work, but I'm saying one of the things that you really were proud of, and maybe one of your moments that weren't so good, where you're like, hey, I got to work on this, or something I have to get better at for the next movie, the next film.
I'll give you one of each. So one, back in November 2022, I won an audition to have a scene with Liam Neeson, the great Liam Neeson.
Great actor.
Oh man, what a great human being. I always watched his movies. I was a big fan of his for years, just like most of us. He's a man's man. He plays the ultimate tough guy with the calm voice.
Yep.
So that movie hasn't come out yet. It's called Thug. He's actually the thug in the movie, not me. And we have a fight scene, him and I in the movie with each other. So that's when you say about a greatest moment. So this is one of the things that pops in my head. The first thing I thought of when you asked me, at the conclusion of our day together and our scenes, he pulled me aside and he said, "Hey, can I talk to you?" And I said, "Sure, I'm all ears. Anything you have to say." It's Liam Neeson, right? And he says, and he says it with the voice, like he talks like that all the time, by the way. He says, "You're really good at this stuff." And I said, "Oh, Mr. Neeson, I'm a big fan of yours. I have so much respect for you." And I'm just like a kid in a candy store in this moment speaking to him. I said, it's such an honor to work with you, and probably all the same shit everybody says to him when they get to work with him. And he just looked at me, he gave me this big smile, and he goes, "Don't ever stop." He goes, you really got something, and you got a really good ability or whatever. He was just basically flattering me and complimenting me. And coming from someone of that stature, it felt really good. But beyond that, he said, "Can I hug you?" And I said, "Yeah." And he gave me, I'm 6 feet tall. I'm a pretty big guy, but he's about 6'5", I believe,
Yeah.
6'4", 6'5". He's taller than me. He grabbed me and he hugged me and he held on to me and he goes, "You got a good heart." And he said, and you're a really good actor. And he said, "Keep going." And I got to say, I got a little choked up, not going to lie. This big tough guy had some tears in his eyes. And I thanked him very sincerely. And the best part, when I walked out of the room and everybody gave me when you get wrapped on a set, meaning you're done with that project, they say your name and everybody claps, all the cast and crew.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So that was my moment. I got my hug from him, and then I was walking out, everybody's clapping for me. Thank you. I walk out, and as I was walking to the transport, my phone ding, and I because I had just turned it back on, and a friend of mine inside took a photo of Liam Neeson hugging me. So it's one of my favorite photos in my phone. I have a photo of Liam Neeson and me embracing. And it's one of those things, like, I'll never forget that moment. It lives in my brain and in my heart forever. But I get bragging rights. I get to show my friends and family. And it's a real story. This really happened. So that was like a highlight moment. And like you said, there's plenty of them, but that one definitely, sticks out in my mind. I can't wait for you to see that movie. I think you and the rest of the world is going to enjoy it. And I know I will. Getting beat up by Liam Neeson's kind of cool. But
just being in a scene with Liam Neeson, it's got to be astonishing.
Yeah, definitely. And then what was it? Oh, I know what it was. When you said maybe a not so great moment, really early on in the beginning. And this is something that I think any actor would relate to or admit to, hopefully, if they're humble and honest. When I very first started and I started getting auditions and opportunities, I was very green. I was not polished. I did not have set etiquette. I didn't know what I was doing. I was, they would send me what they call sides, which is your excerpt that they want you to perform so that you can show them what you would look like in that role. And I would get like one line or one word, and I would have to drive from where I lived about an hour to the casting agency in traffic sometimes. And so it'd be like an hour and a half, and go on a bench with a whole bunch of other actors. And they're all rehearsing. We're all with the page in front of us, and you're saying it out loud, and you're kind of clamoring in hallway and waiting for your turn. And there was definitely more than one occasion where I had my opportunity, and maybe it was literally like 5 words, and I'm intently memorizing and putting the emphasis where I think it should be and stuff like that. And I go in and it'd be my turn, and I'd say my name and what they call a slate, Bruce Soscia, 6 feet tall, and Andrew Wilson Agency and SAG-AFTRA, and all the things you say to like introduce yourself in that frame. So when they show the director of the film, like, he can make his choice. And there's definitely was a couple of times when I went in there and all pumped up, like, oh, I got this is perfect role for me. And I forgot my lines. I choked. I got out there and I thought, this is so easy. Like, and I'd get in there and say, for example, it was like, get the cat out of the tree. I'd go in there and like, it'd be like, all right, action. And they'd say the reader would say their line and it would be my turn. I'd go, and I don't, to this day, I don't know how I got invited back. There was times when I didn't remember this, because as confident and big and strong and tough of a real man's man that I am, something so simple can be so intimidating if you're not fully prepared. And if if you're new, it's a confidence thing. And once I kind of broke that barrier and realized these are just human beings just like me. They have a job to do. They have to find the right guy for this role. Right. So my job is to go in there kind of, with my swag and give them my performance. And it took me a little while. It really did. I think I had to really peel the layers of the onion of vulnerability, all the years of building all these layers of confidence and tough and this protective shell. And I gotta say, I mentioned her earlier, Rachel Baylett, my acting coach from the Lee Strasberg Film Institute. She really worked intently with me on showing me how to be vulnerable and how to kind of let everything go, let all the daily stress go, the business, the family, the whatever issues, problems, leave all that at the door, and through relaxation techniques and a lot of different things, strategies, methods that we use to get in position to perform. Once I kind of mastered that, the whole game changed for me. Now it's like, I can't wait for an audition. I can't wait. And I do so much homework and research, and I got the highlighter and the pen going, and for me, it's really fun. And I found something that I'm super passionate about.
Well, that's great to hear. And we always have those moments where, whether it's early on or at some point in our careers, where we may just, we may do, they always say to succeed, you have to fail at some point, right? Some people can't be afraid of failure, and people say, hey, man, if you fail, it's horrible, right? But we have to kind of accept failure for what it is to only help us grow, right? And that's the most important thing, I believe.
It's true. And the funny thing is, I forgot to add, me being kind of the smart aleck, if you will, I'd come out of those auditions, the ones where I choked, and my peers or family or friend, hey, how'd that audition go? How'd you do? And of course, I crushed it. I killed that one, man. It's in the bag. I got that, because it's one of those, it's like guys that go to the casino. Oh yeah, I'm up, $1 million. Yeah, okay. It's just one of those things. It's in us, seek approval and validation. And I'm glad now that I can say that I live up to the hype.
Absolutely.
Early on, I definitely didn't have the confidence. I didn't know what I was doing. But there's a beauty in that. There's a beauty in the ability to pursue something that you can, find so much passion in and grow. It's like a second chance for me. I'm 47 years old now, and I'm growing every day. I'm learning every day. I'm polishing myself as a human being. And I pray a lot, man. And I didn't when I was younger. And I've really become more of a man of faith. And I realize, for me, I ask God every day. I say, God, help me be a better man. Help me be a better version of me, so that I can inspire others, that they could, maybe hear my story or feel relatable and say, wow, if this guy can, not quit or not lay down or not let life, stop him from pursuing bigger, better things, then why not me? Exactly. I have a really good friend of mine, an old school guy, a wise man, we'll call him. And he passed away now, God rest his soul. But he used to say to me, why me? Why not me? And he kind of instilled that in my head. He used to always say to me, why not? Why not you? Why not? Like, go for it. Give it a shot. Yeah. Like, a lot of people kind of live in their own limitations, I try not to, and I try to kind of pay that forward and pass that message along to other people. Like, bro, I was cutting hair. Not to say it's a bad thing, but I was cutting hair, and I was very successful at it. But like I said, I switched gears completely. I live in a different state, and I'm a full-time working actor.
We do have under a minute here, Bruce. I don't mean to cut you short.
Yeah, sure.
And then
it's never too late to to change gears or to start over or to strive for more. That's what I try to say to people, you know.
Absolutely. And that's, that's a great message to send. And that's so true. Believe in a higher power, believe that it can happen, believe that it will happen. Right. And you may have your bad days, but ultimately good things come to those who wait. Right. And I'm a firm believer, especially my career now. But Bruce, I wanted to thank you again for coming on tonight. We can find your Instagram page, actor Bruce Soscia. We have a couple seconds here. And also some big movies that you're coming out in, or that you're already out. Dog Now, Dog Gone, and also Gravesend, which we look forward to in July.
Yeah, and right now we had a movie come out last week, Mob King, MOBKING, no space. It's on every streaming platform except for Netflix. And I was a co-lead. I was a pretty big part of that movie. So I think you guys will enjoy
heard it there himself. Bruce, thank you.
Thank you.
Until next time, News Talk 1400 92.3 WOND. I will see you all next week. Have a great weekend, everyone.